Hi, I'm Greg Newman. Welcome to Volume 1, Hunting with Penn's Woods Spring Turkey Hunting. The next hour and a half is packed with information and great turkey hunts taken from our new television series, Hunting with Penn's Woods. So get ready, we're going right to the action. On behalf of the entire Penn's Woods team, I'm Tom Newman, and welcome to this exciting and informative spring turkey video. The first morning of the Pennsylvania season finds pro staffer Jeff Schilling with an early morning field setup. Despite the high hunting pressure in this area, we chose this setup because our preseason scouting indicated that the turkey in this area immediately pitched to the field and fed from our left to right. Jeff chose to start off with some soft yelping and then switch to our new premium slate call and use this call's flip side glass surface. We call it our soft call feature because it produces flawless in-close tones for purring and clucking situations. Nearly 25 minutes after daybreak, this patient and periodic calling was just what the situation called for. Congratulations, Jeff. You not only did an excellent job taking this dominant gobbler, but you also secured yourself a steady cameraman position for the rest of the season. Hello, I'm Tom Newman with this week's pro tip. Let's face it, as a spring turkey hunter, there's nothing we enjoy more than going out, hitting a call, hearing a bird gobble, setting up, having them gobble the whole way to the call. But we both know that there are many days when birds simply are not gobbling. What I like to do on a day like this is find an area where birds frequent. Maybe it's along a field edge where the birds like to feed. Maybe it's a ridge top where the birds like to gobble and strut and wait for a hen to come into them. What I like to do is find these areas, set up, and be patient. I use our super rump rester here. It's a great cushion, enables you to sit for 2 to 3 hours because you may have to do that. Because let's face it, if you're hunting this area, you know there are turkey there. Running around may just bump turkey after turkey. Turkey that may be receptive to coming into your call. Just because they're not gobbling does not mean they won't come into the call. I'll set up. What I like to do first is hit a box call, sets like this. That call reaches out there 300-400 yards, lets a gobbler know I'm in the area.
Then occasionally what I like to do is just do some softer calling. Just do some soft clucking, soft yelping, some purring. That way if a bird's in close, he knows I'm there and it's not too aggressive for him. So remember, on days when there's little gobbling activity, sit in a good area and be patient. Just because he's not gobbling doesn't mean he won't come to your call. And this has been your Penn's Woods Game Calls Pro Tip of the Week.
Join me now on our first ever hunt in South Carolina at Oak Ridge Hunting Plantation. Today, I am with guide Charles Peoples, and although we heard numerous gobblers at daybreak, mid-morning was very quiet, so Charles and I decided to set up in a big plowed field. We chose to do some blind calling in hopes of attracting an area gobbler to our highly visible decoy setup. I chose to mix my calling up with some natural decoy movement. Although movement is not necessary, it certainly enhances the attractiveness of decoy use. We use decoys on all of our hunts and have not noticed any difference between stationary decoys or decoys that move. By using different calling devices, a hunter not only sounds like more than one hen, but you never know which of these calls will be the one that will appeal to an area gobbler that is interested in your calling even though he doesn't gobble. Thanks, Charles. Even though the birds quit gobbling, this field setup proved to be very successful.
Tom, we've got two excellent products on the market this year. How many times are you out in the rain and you have a box call or some type of wooden push button call, friction call, but you can't use it?
You're right, Greg. We get asked that all the time. You know, what about these wood calls whenever it's raining out? And the two new accessories we have this year, which are also packaged with these calls, answer that question. You don't have to worry about that rain anymore. We have the waterproof pouches. Just show us real quickly what we have.
This is the box call holster, and you can actually run the box call inside the holster just like this. Another very nice feature is this silencer strap. You just wrap the strap around the call stays silent.
Plus you have it's belt mountable. Just carry it right on your side and it's there for easy access at any time.
And the gun mount pouch, all you do is slip the gun mount right in the pouch and it'll snap right on the gun barrel.
Right. You know, our gun mount call we've had on the market for a couple years now, just clips right on the barrel. It won't harm the finish whatsoever, and it gives that hunter, you know, easy access to use a call like this and have that gun ready to shoot. And like you said, with our new waterproof feature, put the pouch right over it and it doesn't hamper the sound at all. As a matter of fact, it sort of muffles it and even makes it sound a little bit better.
You know, you got an excellent hunt down there at Oak Ridge Plantation in South Carolina, hunting with Anthony, and that one hunt, It was pouring down rain.
I mean, the rain was coming down real hard. And if you want to be out there and be successful, the turkey don't go indoors whenever it starts to rain out. As a hunter, if you want to be successful in harvest game, you got to be in these fields where the turkey like to be and be out there. And with these wood type calls, it would not have been possible to operate them if it hadn't been for a waterproof pouch. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at that hunt on that rainy day and just see how this gobbler comes running into our spread.
As we approached the field that we wanted to set up in on this hunt, turkey were already in the area, so we waited until they disappeared and set up across from where they went out of sight. Turkey do not always gobble a lot on rainy days, but you can bet that they will spend a lot of time in fields on rainy conditions. After a half hour of periodic calling with a mouth call and waterproof mini-mater box call system, the turkey once again entered the field over 200 yards away.
Here comes the bird straight in. Out in front.
A general rule of thumb is not to call to birds when you see them. However, when they appear a little hesitant, some soft purring and clucking on the Penn's Woods gun mount call will reassure them that everything is okay. It definitely took some time to coax these birds in, but once he committed, well, I'll let the video speak for itself.
He's coming right in. Get your gun on. Okay. Whatever you want. I'm here with Anthony. He's the owner and operator of Oak Ridge Plantation Hunting Club. Anthony, that was exciting. I'll tell you what, he didn't gobble coming in at all, but I wish you could have seen the hunt. You're back there sleeping by the big oak tree.
Well, I figure I'd let you and Billy sneak up to the field and I'll get comfortable back there, and all of a sudden I was out cold sleeping.
I told Billy, I said, I hope something comes in. We'll scare the heck out of him.
The gunshot woke me up.
This is a nice bird. This is a real nice bird. Nice spurs on him. Real nice spurs. Nice beard on him. The beard's got to be 11 inches. I'd say he has to be at least a 3-year-old bird.
Beautiful bird.
I wish you could have seen the way he ran to this decoy. They stood out there for quite a while, a little bit hesitant, but we're using a carry light decoy in conjunction with a moto magnet decoy motioner. Oh my goodness. He stood out there. I don't know what took him so long, but once he made up his mind it was the right thing, the camera says it all. He made a beeline for it. We'll show you when we get back to the lodge.
Okay.
But you offer some other things besides just the turkey hunts here, correct?
Yes, sir. We offer whitetail deer hunting as well as the spring gobbler hunting. We start hunting August 15th and run straight through January 1st for whitetail deer hunting. So it's a long season.
I'll tell you, there's a couple other things that came into play here. I hate to overkill this situation, but the rain was coming down pretty good when this bird came in. I was using our box call in conjunction with our waterproof holster. I was using our quick gun mount that snaps to the barrel. I also had the waterproof pouch on it, and it would have been soaking wet and never sounding good at all when I was trying to work it with the way the rain was coming down. I also had the ready rest on there. Man, I had that gun up and ready. I didn't have to do anything when he came in except for put that safety off. There was a lot of things that came into play here for a nice hunt today, but he's just a beautiful bird. And you know, this is what it's all about, just coming out here and having a good time. And we really appreciate everything you did down here for us,
Well,
Anthony.
let me tell you something. I appreciate Penn's Woods coming down here, and I hope you come back and hunt with us again real soon.
Oh, we'll be back. You can bet on it.
Thank you very much, Tommy.
Thank you. It's amazing, Greg, with this wood call like that, just having this waterproof pouch over it. A guy that can't use a mouth diaphragm call, you know, he's a little bit lost. When that bird gets down within 60 yards, he can't move, and you can't be reaching for calls, setting calls down. You got to have that gun up and ready. So whether it's raining, sunny out, a guy can have this, you know, quick gun mount call up on the gun, ready to shoot, and call to that bird to coax him in a little bit further. But you know, we have another neat feature with this waterproof box call holster of ours that you and Steve both use very effectively during a couple of our hunts this year. Why don't you show us what that feature is about that, other than just being a waterproof box call holster with a silencer strap?
A guy wants to do a fly-down cackle in the morning. All he has to do is mouth call in, take this waterproof box call holster, and it works excellent as a fly-down flapper. Just grab both ends.
So basically, it simulates the wing beat of a turkey, either flying, you know, out of the tree or flying up into the tree. And we have a couple segments from this past hunting season where Greg used the flapper and Steve used the flapper on separate occasions, and you'll hear the immediate response of a gobble from area gobblers right after they do the fly down cackle with the simulated wing beat with the waterproof box call holster. So let's quickly check that out.
By simply making the flapping sound, a hunter can achieve the same results.
Hi, I'm Greg Newman. I'm going to show you how I like to roost birds at night using one of our locator calls. What I like to do is to get to a high point and hit either an owl call or a gobbler call. Our Penn's Woods owl call sounds like a barred owl, and this is what you want to do. What I'm trying to do is shock gobble a bird as it gets up on the roost, so I know exactly where he's at in the morning. And if the owl call doesn't work, I like to try our Penn's Woods shake your gobbler call. That bird gobbles, you know exactly where he's at in the morning. And that's this week's Penn's Woods Game Calls Pro Tip of the Week.
Having used Greg's locating advice, we knew right where this gobbler was roosted and set up across the field from his location. It was the last day of our hunt in South Carolina, and I was trying to fill another spring turkey tag. With a liberal limit of 5 tags, you just may want to book a hunt with Anthony from Oak Ridge Plantation for a truly enjoyable hunt. A beautiful lodge, great food, and quite an abundance of deer and turkey makes this a great trip for any hunter. As you will see in the majority of our hunts, once we have a bird working in, we will switch to soft purring and clucking on the underside of our premium slate or glass call.
Sounds like he's moving out to the right a little bit. He's definitely out in the field.
A nice feature on the aim point scope is the fact that you can adjust the brightness of the dot to compensate for the different daylight conditions. I wasn't quite ready to take the shot when he poked his head out. Then, when I was ready, no matter how I called, I couldn't get him to gobble or pop out of strut for a good headshot, even after he had already gobbled 56 times.
Wow, was that a beautiful hunt. Unfortunately, we couldn't catch it all on film. You know, we've been in here a couple days prior to this. We've seen this bird working from this woods line out through the field to this other patch of woods. We set up here in this little bit of island type area with some nice trees in there to hide our location. I believe what this bird did was he pitched right out to the field in the morning. On foggy days like this, they can't see what's underneath them a lot, so they like to pitch out to the field. He gobbled and gobbled and gobbled. I think we counted 56 times. There was a couple things that tickled his fancy, and one of the calls was this premium slate call of ours, and what he really liked was when I'd flip it over to the underside, we call it our soft call feature because you can yelp, purr, cluck, tree call on it, real soft, and it's almost flawless calls that you can deliver to a bird. Almost every time I'd purr on that, boy did he like that call. But we had a different setup this morning because I said we're in this island area. We had the hen decoy over here, the feeding hen. In case birds would come out from behind us and to the right, they'd be able to pick up that hen decoy. What we never thought would happen was the fact that he stayed with that hen. He was so intrigued with her, trying to display for her and put on a show. We couldn't wait for him to get over here to the Jake decoy and the hens behind us, but you just never know how a bird's going to react. 9 times out of 10 we'd tell you he's going to go straight to that Jake. And he may have in due time, but being he came in 90 degrees to our right, we could not move and get the camera around as good on him as what we'd like. And I had to totally go 90 degrees to my right to get a good clean shot. We just had to take that bird there. You would have never thought he wouldn't have gone over here. But regardless, 56 gobbles, a foggy morning like this, a bird's 50 yards away. You can hear him strutting. When he's gobbling, it sounds like he's in your ear and you can't pick him up. You can't beat the excitement once that bird finally breaks this fog. It was a great morning.
There's a hen. There it is. Here it is. Let's go. Hello, I'm Steve LaCourchick for Penn's Woods Game Call, and with me today is fellow pro staffer Donnie Small. We're out here June 15th doing a tube call segment. Can you believe that? A hen cut and turkey gobbling.
Yeah, both of them at the same time here.
You know, everybody says the season's over when you get to the middle of May, towards the end of the May. Look at that there. They're still together. Hey, Don, this tube call that we use a lot for locating has been an excellent device for us all through the season, pre-season, late season, and even June 15th. What can you tell me about this tube call?
Okay, Steve, the tube call it's a very easy call to blow. All it takes is just breathing into it. Let me demonstrate one, see if we can get that gobbler to answer again. There he is.
That hen started and then
The
he did.
hen started and then he did. But it is very good locating call, and it's very easy to blow. Whenever you blow into it, just simply breathe. A lot of guys will try blowing too hard, but simply breathe into it and it'll go. Put your lip up over it. You can hear the hen now. They are really fired up. But it is a very good locating call and a hunting call. This year I was guiding, and I took a guy out, and this is what I used. He loved it, and it will work for hunting as also as locating.
You know, Dawn, I've noticed yours has a higher pitch than mine, and that's just because we're using different latex. I have a thicker piece of latex than what you do on your call, and that's why they sound different. Listen to this here, the difference, how much deeper tone it is. Much deeper than that higher pitch. Here he gobbled again. And that's what's so good about these calls. You can simply change the tone by changing the thickness of latex. I like a little wee bit deeper tone than what you have there. And you know, with this call, you can do just about any call that a turkey makes on. How about demonstrating just a plain yelp on that there call?
Okay. Another thing, Steve, mine may be stretched a little tighter. If you have it stretched a little tighter, it'll make it a little sharper, a little higher pitch. But I'll demonstrate a yelp on it, on mine. It's just a high pitch.
Very nice clear yelp on that there versus this little bit deeper tone yelp. How about the cluck? He did put a couple clucks in there. How about just do a series of 5 or 6 clucks for me on that?
To cluck on this, all you have to do is say took, and not much air, just took, took.
And of course, to change that into cutting, all we got to do is speed it up.
Speed
That
it up.
gobbler's going crazy. Just hit that real quick with a real fast cut. You know, Dawn, this is just a great all-around call, not just for locating turkeys, but it's great for calling turkeys because you can get this as soft as you want. You can key with it for fall hunting. You can even gobble with it. How about demonstrating a gobble with that for me, and tell me how you go about getting a gobble out of this.
Okay, Steve, a lot of guys will say tuka real quick, but I can't say tuka, so I just roll my tongue whenever I do it and use my hand to muffle it. But we couldn't have picked a better day to do this. We got a hen down here gone nuts and a gobbler gobbling, which is great, and it wasn't even planned that way. It just happened that they were there. But I'll demonstrate a gobbler with this. Or the key first. Let's get the key.
And to get that key, you're just blowing P, and then yelping behind it?
Right.
Very simple to do.
Very simple, and it's a good fall call. Okay, to get back to the gobble, whenever I gobble, I just roll my tongue. I know you say tuka, and I just can't say it, but I just roll my tongue and muffle it, which is gone.
Very good, and that's all. It don't have to be stage quality or competition quality gobble to get a turkey to gobble.
Right.
And that works very well to locate turkeys mid-morning. Very easy to do. And me, I just say tuka tuka tuka. Very simple.
Very easy.
Very simple to do. We're not going to win a contest with it, but it does make turkeys gobble. If you're not using a Penn's Woods tube call, please get one, try it out, And if you're having trouble learning, we have an excellent video called Seducing Spring Gobblers that has a wonderful segment on how to learn to use this call for locating turkeys, for calling turkeys. Get it and try it. I'm sure this is something you'll want to add to your spring turkey bag.
Now join Steve on a hunt in Iowa with Midwest USA Outfitters. With the birds still on the roost, Steve does some soft tree calling on a slate call to a couple of gobblers that are apparently roosted with some hens. As the hens fly down, Steve also does a simulated fly down with our waterproof box call holster to reassure the henned-up gobblers that there are other hens in the area. One adult gobbler finally committed to checking out Steve's calling. When the birds are flocked up, it often requires some aggressive calling to coax a gobbler away. Someone must have told them about the bird in the hand saying. Despite Steve's efforts, he made the ethical choice to pass up a shot at this bird as it was pushing his effective range. We at Penn's Woods encourage all hunters to pattern their guns prior to hunting. Know what range and limits that your gun has and stick to those limits. A crippled bird is detrimental to the sport we love and certainly not fair to the game we pursue. Later that morning, Steve decided to reposition in hopes of calling this bird back in or at least another area gobbler. This time, however, the bird was well within range and right where Steve wanted him. Patience is the name of the game here. By letting the bird slowly walk in, there is no need to rush a shot.
I miss him. I can't believe I missed that bird. 28, 30 yards away. I missed him. Wide open. Well, I can't say it's the first time. That's the way she goes sometimes.
Coincidentally, we had 3 misses that spring by people who chose not to use our aim point scopes. However, as a responsible hunter, Steve did follow up the shot to make sure the bird was okay.
Hi, I'm Greg Newman with your pro tip of the week. I want to talk about reading a bird's temperature. And that doesn't mean using a thermometer either. What it means is how to call a bird if he's a hot gobbling bird or if he doesn't do a lot of gobbling. If I'm calling to a gobbler and giving him a lot of aggressive yelping and cutting like this, and he gobbles every time I hit him with a call, I'll just keep doing the same thing. But if I find a bird that gets hung up, just gobbles a little bit, I'll back off on my calling and give him some soft, settled stuff. Because a lot of times he doesn't want to hear that loud, aggressive calling. So remember, next time you're out in the turkey woods, learn how to read a bird's temperature. And that's your Penn's Woods Game Calls Pro Tip of the Week.
Now join our father as he gets the decoys set on a late morning hunt in Pennsylvania, with only a few minutes left before quitting time at noon. Greg and Dad combined some aggressive yelping and cutting with soft clucks and purrs. It was clear that they had this gobbler's temperature read. The beauty of Realtree Extra Camo is that it blends into your surrounding even when an optimum setup is not possible. These late morning periods can often be the most effective as hens leave gobblers to go nest. It is then that gobblers are in search of hens and most vulnerable. Watch closely, as this hunt is true testimony as to the accuracy of an aim-point scope. There is simply very little need for concentration, no matter where the dot is in the scope. As long as it is on the turkey's neck area, you got them. Most turkey are missed by shooting high because the hunter does not bear down on the plane of the barrel, which puts his shot pattern high. Congratulations, Dad, and good clean shot.
Many turkey hunters, especially beginning turkey hunters, are very intimidated by the use of friction calls. When I say friction calls, I mean glass, slate, metal surface, box calls, push buttons. Today, Steve and I are going to show you some fundamentals on how to properly use a friction call. The most important part about using a friction call, like the raspy glass, which I have here, is having the proper striker angle. Place the striker on the surface of the glass and slightly angle the striker away from you. To make a yelp, just make small circles, but never take the striker off the surface. This is a yelp. Notice I never take the striker off the surface. Now to make a cluck, just snap the tip of the striker towards you. And to make a purr, add a slight amount of pressure and just drag the striker. Again, the most important part is having a proper striker angle. Two other very important things about using a friction call is how to properly hold the call in your hand. You want to hold the call loosely in your hand and have a gap between your palm of your hand and the call. And also, take your right hand, if you're right-handed, and rest your right hand on the call. This will stabilize it and make it much more easier to run this call. Now Steve's going to show us a couple other things. One is how to properly maintain the call, and also some features of our new premium slate call.
One nice thing about a friction type call is to maintain them, it is very simple. You simply take a piece of fine grit sandpaper, which we package with our calls, and you want to run across the grain of the surface, whether it be slate or glass. You don't need to put a lot of pressure. All you want to do is clean the oil off or any buildup from the striker. And you do the same thing with your striker. Just simply take the sandpaper and clean the buildup on the bottom of the striker. It doesn't take much, and you're ready to go. Now on this here premium call, we also have an underside that produces excellent soft calling. And again, I take this sandpaper and just very lightly clean that there in there, and you're ready to go. That's how clean it is. Another thing that you want to remember with a friction type call, you don't want to touch it with your fingertips. That'll put oil on the surface, therefore making the call slide and not work properly. Once you clean it up, you're ready to go. Greg just shown you the basic cluck and yelp and purr on a friction type call. I'm going to show you another call that I use quite often, and that's called cutting. To cut, you simply set the striker on the surface, and basically all you're doing is clucking, but speeding it up. Make that call exciting. That may stimulate a gobbler to gobble. Another good feature about this premium slate call or our premium glass, it does have an underside to it for soft calling. Simply put the striker in there on the same angle that we talked about and do whatever type of calling you may want to do. Excellent soft yelps, clucks, and purrs. As you can see, using a friction call is quite simple. Just remember those three important fundamentals. Proper striker angle, keep the striker on the surface, and keep your call clean, and it should work for you.
Steve, we forgot one important thing here. What do we do if it rains?
You're right, Greg, and I notice you have a waterproof striker there. We package all of our calls with two different strikers, a hickory one and a waterproof one. Why don't you show us that?
Steve, pour some water on this call. I'm going to show everybody how easy it is to use using our black acrylic waterproof striker. Again, you have to have your call, the surface of your call scratched up, and also your striker tip.
Hey Greg, what do you say we take a look at a hunt now where we use this premium slate call?
Let's join Pro Staffer Dave Hutchko on another hunt in Iowa with Midwest USA Outfitters. Our initial setup was along a field facing down into the woods. However, the more Dave called, it appeared that a group of birds was also closing the distance behind us out in the field. We decided to hold our position until one of the groups committed to coming in. We then added the different tone of our Mini-Mater box call to the scenario, which evidently convinced the birds in the field behind us to come in and see what all the commotion was about.
It's coming, Dave.
Remember, you seldom want to call to turkey when they are coming your way. Be quiet and patient, and let the birds look for you.
Hello, I'm Tom Newman, and with me is Pro Staffer Don Small, and this week's pro tip is how to locate turkeys. Don, sometimes it's inevitable later on in the season, you have to resort to loud cutting on a box call, a yelper, a tube call, to get a bird to respond to you, and I mean a gobbler to gobble. But more often than not, what you want to use are locator calls. That enables yourself to have sufficient time for a proper setup. Heck, if you'd hit some type of hen call, it might be 75 yards away and the bird's hot and wants to come in.
Right.
He's coming in too quick. So we resort to the locator calls. The crow call is probably our favorite. Show them how you give quick blasts on that thing and then listen for the bird's response. Right.
3-quarter short blast, Tom, that's all it takes.
Right, because if you went and did 6, 7, 8 crow calls, he might have gobbled after your third series and you never heard him and you can't pinpoint his location. You can also use a woodpecker peacock call like I have here. And the woodpecker would sound like this.
Very
Okay?
good.
Or the peacock. Now, if these loud sounds don't get a response from a gobbler, I'm very surprised. But What I'll sometimes do then is resort to a gobbler call first, because they're normally not going to come right into a gobbler call. I'll hit a gobble call because we found it to be effective.
Right.
Hit it real quick again, listen for the response. As I said before, sometimes you have to resort to a hen call, and I know that you like that tube call. It's very realistic sounding and it reaches out there 300, 400, 500 yards to get a bird's response. Show us how you'll call loudly on that tube call to get a bird's location. That's great, Dawn, because that thing really reached out there. And before you hit a hen call like that, look around you. Find a tree that if a bird would gobble right away, you can hurry up and sit right down at it and be ready for a setup. So remember, try using the locator calls before you burst into some hen calling. It enables yourself to have time for a great setup. And this has been your Penn's Woods Game Calls Pro Tip of the Week.
Back we go to Iowa as we join Greg on a mid-morning hunt. Greg likes to walk and cover a lot of ground on days with little gobbling to locate gobblers. Locator calls were not working well on this day, so Greg resorts to his technique of aggressive yelping on a Penn's Woods Pro V mouth call to try and shock a bird into giving Greg his location. Remember though, when hen calling to locate turkey, have a tree already picked out for a quick setup. You never know how fast a bird may come into your calling. Once set up, Greg wastes no time calling to the bird to keep his interest. Shortly after setting up, the bird makes his appearance, but it is the soft purring and clucking that strikes his fancy. Knowing when to call and what calls to deliver to appeal to a gobbler in any particular circumstance plainly comes down to experience and what is working at any given moment. As Greg indicated earlier in his pro tip, learning how to read a bird's temperature is highly important and often the determining factor in a hunter's success or lack thereof. Once the bird is committed, move slowly and methodically when the bird is not looking. There is no need to rush your movements. A nice aspect to hunting with Midwest USA Outfitters is their southern Iowa location. Only minutes away from Missouri, a hunter can be hunting big bucks or huge turkey from 2 different states from one location. In a reversal of roles, so to speak, Midwest USA manager Todd Hughes handles the gun position on this hunt. Most hunters know that successful spring turkey hunting often stems from calling in the hens. More often than not, if the hen comes into your calling, the gobblers won't be far behind.
Better bird coming. Ready to take them.
Greg, you know that purr and cluck is often an underrated call in the spring turkey woods. You know, a lot of times hunters are very aggressive and continue to be aggressive, but we definitely believe that as the season wears on, that birds do become pressured and call shy to the hunter's call.
A lot of times, Tom, a gobbler does not want to hear a lot of loud, aggressive yelping and cutting. And he just wants to hear some soft, subtle clucking and purring.
Why do you believe that is, Greg?
I think most of the time it's because that's how the hens approach the gobbler. The bird gobbles and the hen just clucks and purrs on her way in.
Right. I mean, he's attracting the hens, so those subtle purrs and occasional cluck, you know, the cluck is, in the turkey language, where are you? So that hen is, you know, looking for that gobbler. So, you know, as the season wears on and the birds have been pressured by hunters and some aggressive calling tactics, tone it down and don't underestimate the effectiveness of just some soft purring and clucking on a friction call, or like you have here, the quick gun mount call. You know, the bird gets in 60, 75 yards away. If you can't cluck or purr on a mouth call, and you certainly don't want to have a friction call in your hands at that distance, you want to have that gun up and ready, and that call enables you to do it. So remember, as the season wears on, you don't hear the hens quite as aggressive as you did early in the season either, so you might want to tone it down on those call-shy and pressured birds with some soft purring and add an occasional cluck in there, and I think you're going to find it to be more effective.
Hearing a turkey's gobble is one of the most critical elements in a spring hunt. Not everyone's hearing is equal, and the aid of a Walker's game ear enables sportsmen to hear game that would otherwise go undetected. After setting up, Jay once again uses the Minimator box call for keeping the bird's interest nearly 200 yards away. One of the best weapons on a spring gobbler is a good dose of silence. For nearly 20 minutes, Jay gave this gobbler just that until the bird closed the distance to about 75 yards. To keep the bird's interest, Jay then resorts to some soft clucks. Remember, a gobbler can accurately pinpoint your location from over 100 yards away, so if you think he's coming in, let him look for you. A cluck in the turkey language means, "Where are you?" So, that cluck reassures him that you are looking for him also.
Take them whenever you can.
Good job, Jay. Notice that Jay takes his time and puts his Pennswood safety band on prior to going to his bird. Pennsylvania law requires that a hunter must wear 100 square inches of fluorescent orange while moving. Our safety band is quick and easy. It can also be placed around harvested game or around a tree near your calling location. Hey Jay, congratulations, buddy.
Thank you, Tom.
Wow, that's a nice bird. Real nice bird.
Beauty.
Tell you what, we're
Bird,
getting late in the season here. And you and I have been talking about the fact that, you know, these birds are call shy. Not every bird, but a lot of birds, you can call them, they may gobble, but they're not coming in.
Right.
Or they may gobble and go the other way. We've had that happen a lot. We've talked about the importance of maybe some yelping and cutting maybe to get a bird started, but just then some clucking, you know, friction call or whatever, just to bring them in.
Well, listen, down here, when I first saw him and you started to purr, that seemed to make all the difference without calling the yelps.
And you've been asking me all about that call I've been using. I let you use it.
Oh,
Look what you went and did.
Well,
That's the old premium glass, and we're not sure if we're gonna make it out of oak or walnut, but nonetheless, I put it in your hands for one hunt. Look what
that's
happens.
the best call. The
I'll
best
tell you
I've
what,
ever
buddy.
seen.
Late in the morning, you got him around 11 o'clock, and he gobbled pretty good coming in. I mean, you know, on his own, maybe to a couple of the clucks and that,
Yeah.
but he came in silent probably at least that last 75 yards, and it was just beautiful to see the way he came up there to them decoys. Congratulations again, buddy.
Well, thanks for bringing me back.
No problem.
Hello, I'm Steve LaCorchka, and with me here today is fellow pro staffer Bill Newman. Bill and I is going to give you a couple tips on hunting silent gobblers, or gobblers that aren't gobbling as much, whether it be early in the season when they're henned up, or whether it's towards the end of the season when the peak of the gobbling is about done. And me being an aggressive type hunter, I like to run and gun, as we call it. What I mean by that is I like to travel ridge tops or field edges and cut aggressively on either a box call or a mouth call, try to get a bird to gobble. Once I do that, I get as close to them as I can, set out some decoys and set and be patient. Just call a little wee bit and try to get him to come on in. How about you, Bill?
Yeah, Steve, what I like to do is find an area where turkeys frequent, whether it be in Oak Ridge or fields. What I like to do is set out a couple decoys, make a few calls every 15 minutes, every half hour, and like you say, number one thing is sit back and be patient, because if that bird's not gobbling, you got to be watching he's coming in silent.
And you know, either one of these techniques will work, and as a hunter, you just got to do what you're most comfortable with, and go with whatever works for you.
You're exactly right, Steve.
Now join another good friend of the Penn's Woods team, Walt Lang. Walt told me that he had put some birds to roost the night before, and he wasn't kidding. Typical of early season hunting, the turkey are still in small groups. Knowing this, we became very aggressive with our calling. Generally speaking, it is the hens that will lead a gobbler in, but this dominant gobbler could not resist checking out the sound of other hens, even though he had a little harem of his own. What took us by surprise was the fact that the birds came in from a 90-degree angle from where we had expected. With the hens moving close, Walt had to keep his gun aimed at the decoys and hope that our Realtree Extra Brown kept us concealed until Walt could move his gun into position. These are nerve-wracking moments, but any sudden movements would surely spook the hens and the gobbler as well. Soft clucks and purrs on the gun mount call assured the birds that everything was okay. With his gun now in position, the flock rejoins the gobbler, keeping Walt from making the shot. Remember, the angle of the camera is drastically different from Walt's position on the turkey. Excellent job, Walt, being patient. This hunt is a prime example of remaining composed and not rushing to get a shot. As long as the turkey are relaxed, you can also remain calm and move only at the best times.
Hello, I'm Steve Lekorchik, and this week I'm going to talk about locating gobblers mid-morning when nothing is happening. What I like to do is travel the ridge tops, take my mini-mater box call, and cut on it sharply and yelp loudly to try to stimulate that turkey to gobble. And that'll sound like this here. Try that and see if that doesn't make a gobbler gobble. This is Penn's Woods Game Call's Pro Tip of the Week. Hey Greg, hit that gobble call.
Well, nothing gobbled that time, Steve, but I've had a lot of luck with the Penn's Woods gobbler call. I like to use it in the morning to get a bird to gobble on the roost. I also like to use it in the evening when I'm roosting the gobbler. Now, when do you like to use a gobbler call, Steve?
Well, Greg, I like to use it a lot besides morning and evening to locate. I like to use it when I'm out hunting, you know, that 8, 9 o'clock when it gets real dull, nothing gobbling. I'll take this out and just give a... Boy, I'll hear 1, 2 ridges away, but at least it got him to gobble. I know where he's at. And I also use mine a lot as a dominance factor. Right when I'm calling to a turkey, he may be hanging up or taking his time to come, or as I'm hen yelping, I'll gobble once or twice just to try to make him believe there's another gobbler there with that hen, hopefully with a dominance factor figure, get him to come in. And I've harvested many a turkeys by that, using that there. You know, this is also great for using in the for fall hunting. When do you use it in the fall, Greg?
A lot of times I'll use a hen call or a young Jake, a whistle, kiki run, and I also hit the gobbler call at the same time because we always hear birds gobble in the fall. Might do a little kiki and hit the gobbler call.
Just to sound like a Jake bird gobbling.
Right. But definitely, Steve, the gobbler call is something you have to have in your vest or in your shoulder bag because it does work.
I wouldn't go hunting without one.
Let's join Greg and Dave on a late season hunt in Pennsylvania. By late season, gobblers are generally less receptive to answering locator calls, so Greg cuts loose on a mouth call to really get a gobbler's attention.
Hey, sit on the left side of this tree here, and I'll sit on the right side of the tree.
Again, when hen calling to locate a gobbler, you had better have a tree close by that you know you can set up against. Here, Greg and Dave set up along an old pasture just on the other side of an orange strip of electric fence.
Sounds like there's a hen wrapping around on the other side here. Where he goes is every time she yells. Sounds like he's down here at the edge of the woods, about 150 yards. He's coming. Definitely a lot closer now. I think I see him.
With a hen on the other side of the gobbler, giving Greg some competition, he decides to mix up his calling with the Penn gobbler call to let this gobbler know that there is some competition in the area. Despite hitting our gobbler call, after a 30-minute standoff, Greg and Dave assume that he has some hens of his own, so they decide to simulate a turkey fight to hopefully coax the birds into their location.
Greg, don't move. Wait a second. They're right there in front of you. There's birds.
The combination of aggressive purring on the Penn's Woods raspy glass call, the quick gun mount, and the mouth call seemed to be just what the situation called for.
Here he comes. There he is. Do you see him?
Notice that there are two hens between our location and the gobbler, which are apparently leading him right to us.
Good shot, dude. Go get him.
Nice 2-year-old, Greg.
Sure is, Dave. Congratulations.
Thanks. Good shot.
Yeah, thanks.
We had to do some fancy call on this bird, didn't we?
Yeah. He's down there with some hens. I didn't think he was going to come at first, and then gave some pretty aggressive purring, and the two hens come in purring themselves. And
What we got here is, this is entering into the last week of the Pennsylvania spring gobbler season, and this gobbler's still with some hens.
yeah.
Of course, you know he's with two hens, and there's actually another hen yelping on the other side on that ridge over there. So we gave him some aggressive calling, and he's still in bud, so I knew he had to have been with some hens. So I said, let's try something different. So I took the mouth call and took the premium glass, and also I used the raspy glass, just some purring to simulate the gobbler fight. And it's amazing how fast. Actually, what happens, the hens actually
The hens
came
come
in.
in first, yeah. No, Greg, one thing that
really surprised me. He shut up there for a few minutes, and you hit the gobbler call. He cut you right off, and I think that really got his interest back.
Right, Dave. A lot of times you get a bird like that is sort of hung up. You got to try something a little bit different. Like you said, the gobbler call, and that's what I did. I just pulled the gobbler call out and hit it, and he immediately gobbled. And after that, I followed up with the aggressive purring and some cutting. And pulled the birds right in.
Yeah, hens come right in. He followed them in.
We at Penn's Woods sure are glad that you joined us on our hunts from last season, and we truly appreciate your support. Be sure to look for our products at a dealer near you. If they do not carry our products, ask them to. And remember, you can always check out our full line on the web at www.pennswoods.com, and be sure to email us your comments. Also, a special thanks to our sponsors. Be sure to give them a call or check out their websites as well for their great line of products. Again, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time when we take you hunting with Penn's Woods.